Question. What use can esoteric and mystical study of Christianity have today? I am deeply drawn towards it, perhaps from karma, but also from love. Is there a value of doing such work, of studying the deeper aspects of the Bible and works of Christian mystics and saints, and also Gnostic Christianity? I don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater and disregard it all as bygone or distorted teachings. I constantly find myself in the middle of Christianity and modern new spirituality, and both sides say the other is wrong. It hurts a lot. Well, there are many people, I met many people on spiritual paths, myself included, who grew up in a Christian environment. I was not particularly indoctrinated with Christianity, but of course I heard about it. And I've found many spiritual people who go into this. They find a spiritual teaching and it answers the questions that Christianity couldn't answer for them. So now they say, oh, Christianity was all wrong, we can ignore it and move on. Then there are also people I have met who are more positive towards their Christian upbringing, who don't really want to let go of Christianity, and they don't want to go into anything that's New Age, because it's too much for them. So I would say that for both, some form of Christian mysticism could be a valid thing to study. Because the person is talking about throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And I think what many spiritual New Age people are doing is they're throwing Jesus out with the dirty bathwater of the church. Because they see the shortcomings of the church and then they think, oh, Jesus was just, we can just ignore him. And then I think there are many of the people from a Christian background who they can't get into all of the New Age stuff, it's way too much for them. But I think they could come to realize that Jesus was actually what you would call a mystic. Because he was not a doctrinal person, and he was not the one who was like, why did he always have arguments with the scribes and Pharisees, or challenge the scribes and Pharisees? Because they were the doctrinal people of his time, just like many Christians today. It's all about doctrine, it's all about a literal interpretation of the Bible, it's all about following the rituals and the sacraments and this and that, the outer rules. Jesus basically Jesus said, because he challenged the scribes and Pharisees, and he basically said, the kingdom of God comes not with observation of the outer rules and doctrines, because the kingdom of God is within you. So the kingdom of God is a state of consciousness, the way Jesus used the word. And that meant that what Jesus really talked about was a transformation of consciousness. And this is precisely what many spiritual people are going for. So you have both the people who can't go into the New Age or the people who have got into it but ignoring Christianity. I think both could benefit from having some understanding of the mystical aspects of Jesus' teachings. Because they are there, even in the scriptures you can find them. I mean, there are many statements that are mystical. It can only really be understood through a mystical, whereby I mean an intuitive sense. And so I think that if you are drawn towards this, by all means study it. There are many sources out there, but I would like to point out the website that I was guided to create back in 2002 called Ask the Real Jesus. It's askrealjesus.com. It's still there, contains a lot of teachings that could be said to be mystical Christianity. And so, since you are asking me, I would say start there. Then you can always see if you are attracted to other things. There's validity in studying the Christian mystics and some of the Gnostic teachings. So by all means, pursue this. Personally, I've always been a mystic, but I couldn't, as I was growing up, I was exposed to the Danish state church, which is Protestant Christianity, and I couldn't see anything spiritual in it. It didn't answer my questions, it didn't appeal to my heart, but I always sensed there was something about Jesus that I needed to resolve or understand or grasp. And that didn't really happen to me until I found Ascended Master teachings and realized that Jesus is today an Ascended Master. And the importance of this, the reason why I say it this way, is that what I grasped about Ascended Masters is they are beyond any labels we can create on earth. In other words, they're beyond any religion. So Jesus as an ascended master is beyond, way beyond, the image of Jesus created by the official Christian religions. And this was what I could log into. And I came to realize that Jesus actually taught a spiritual path to a higher state of consciousness. And you can see it in the scriptures. I will probably at some point talk about it. I have done some videos, by the way, on my playlist about Christianity, where I talk about this also. So there's a lot of material out there you can study. But first of all, if you feel this is important for you, look at the website, askrealjesus.com, and see where that takes you. And then you can always branch out. I personally have felt very much enriched by coming to understand the mystical aspects of Jesus' teachings. And it has helped me basically make peace with Christianity, in the sense that I think I grew up with a negative view of Christianity because I looked at how they had distorted Jesus' teachings and how they had done so many things that are contrary to Jesus' teachings. The Crusades, the Inquisition, the witch hunts. All of this is contrary to Jesus' teachings. It was obvious to me. And so I couldn't quite reconcile that. And I've come to a point where I understand why Christianity took that turn. I'm not saying I agree with it or approve of it, but I've just come to a point where I understand it. And so I can say, okay, this is what happened. But I had also really been enriched by making peace with Jesus, because it was important for me, coming from a Christian background and having, I think in many past lifetimes, I've been incarnated in a Christian culture. So it is important for me to make peace with Jesus. And I think it's actually important for all spiritual people to make peace with Jesus. Partly because either in this lifetime or in past lifetimes, we have been exposed to the perverted Christianity. But it's also important for another reason, is that Jesus is today an ascended master. He holds he holds an office as the planetary Christ. And this office is a spiritual office. It's like you can compare it to a gateway. And in order to get to the spiritual realm, you have to pass through that gateway. You have to pass through that office of the planetary Christ. And that's very difficult to do if you have a negative view of Jesus based on the false Christianity. So I think it's very important for spiritual people, if you are at the point where you are close to your ascension, to make peace with Jesus. Because otherwise you can't really approach him when you're out of the body. And as you raise your awareness, it should be natural to make peace with everything that happens on earth, and including Jesus. And I found it was very important for me. I also realized that despite my Christian upbringing, where I tended to ignore Jesus, I had a very deep personal connection to him going back many past lifetimes. And I think many spiritual people do have that, because he is an important spiritual teacher for earth. And so it was very important for me to make peace with him and come to work with him as an ascended master. And I think that that's the case for many other spiritual people. But as I said, we do have to pass through that office, which means, you can't really pass through that office unless you have some grasp of the mystical teachings behind Jesus' mission and what Jesus' mission really was about, because Jesus was the main spiritual, what would you call it, role model, guide for the past 2,000 years. And even though it's been perverted by official Christianity, there's still elements of it that are universally valid. And so it is important for our growth as we are moving out of the Piscean age and into the Aquarian age, that we come to grasp the real inner mystical message of Christ, which basically is that we only grow by connecting to and integrating with the one mind, the undivided mind. We can also call it the Christ mind, or even the Buddha nature. But it is through that connection and integration with the one mind that we grow and qualify for our entry into the spiritual realm. And Jesus exemplified that. And that's why there is a really important mystical vision behind Jesus' teachings. I could go on about the importance of Jesus' mission, that he has given many teachings through me, including my book about the mystical teachings of Christ and other books. So there's a lot of material there for people who feel intuitively led to study that.